I'm selling these 3 Anbernics. Not because they're bad, I actually think they're great, but because I don't use them anymore. And that's really why I wanted to make this video. If you're shopping in the $50 to $75 range, these are some of my favorite budget handhelds to recommend, as long as you know what you're getting into. Over the last few years, I've gotten a little obsessed with retro emulation and handhelds. Retroid, AYN, Anbernic. I've had a lot of them on my shelf at different points in time, and it all started with an Anbernic. The RG40XXV was my first retro handheld. I didn't even know what emulation was. I just remember being in college and my roommate was playing Pokemon on a laptop on the couch like 15 years ago, and I had no clue what he was doing. Then I got the 35XX, loaded it up, and it blew my mind. I had access to all these systems, games, and memories from my childhood. I was immediately hooked. Fast forward to now, I test a lot of these devices, and my main devices are the Odin Thor Portal, the AYN Thor, and recently I've really been liking the TrimUI Brick. So these Anbernics, they mostly just sit, and I'm trying to downsize my collection. So for me, I'm selling these because I already own premium handhelds that cover my use cases, which I always end up reaching for first. But if you're not trying to spend $200 or $300 on this hobby, if you're new to the hobby, or if you just want to play Game Boy through PS1 games, these budget Anbernics are still a really good pick. And I think a lot of people, especially newcomers to the hobby, overcomplicate this part. A $50 budget handheld isn't necessarily 5 or 6 times worse than a $300 handheld, especially if the use case is going to be like lightweight retro emulation. For me, I feel like you get most of the experience of those lightweight titles at a fraction of the cost, and that's what I want to focus on for the rest of this video. The Anbernic RG40XXV, 40XXH, and the CubeXX are all really easy to recommend, even in the end of 2025 when we have so many options. They have the H700 chipset, which is tried and tested. There's a lot of custom firmware options, and it can run pretty flawless PS1 and a lot of N64 and Dreamcast games. Screen-wise, the 40XXV and 40XXH each have 4-inch 640 by 480 aspect ratios, which is 4:3, perfect for most retro systems. And the CubeXX has a 3.95 720 by 720 1:1 screen, and it's one of my favorite budget handhelds. Anbernic lists these around $60 a lot of the time, and at the time of making this video, and you can find them in AliExpress for even cheaper, sometimes ranging from $45 to $55. At that price, that's a lot of value. If your use case is Pokemon, Zelda, Mario, SNES, GBA, PS1, maybe some N64, this $50 device might be better for you than spending $300. The 40XXV is nostalgic. It has that vertical handheld feel, almost like a modern, more comfortable Game Boy. It's light, the controls are good, and it even has this little analog stick which you're probably not going to use, but at least it's there. The thing is, I wouldn't say this is truly pocketable. So for me, if I'm going vertical, I want to be able to throw it in my pocket, and this one is more like something I would put into a bag. But if you want nostalgia first and comfort second, this is a great pick. The 40XXH is practical. I'm always going to choose horizontal over vertical handhelds for comfort, and this one is really good. You get dual sticks, so it feels better for PS1, Dreamcast, N64. You can play longer sessions without cramping. So if you're buying one of the two 40XX devices and you don't care about nostalgia, I would recommend the 40XXH. Lastly, the CubeXX. I love this. This is one of my favorite budget handhelds I've ever used. It's either this or the TrimUI Brick for my top budget pick. The one-to-one screen for Game Boy Color is amazing. Pokemon looks incredible, Zelda incredible. Everything is crisp, bright, and it has this premium screen. Ergonomically, the little bumps on the back work really well, and the CubeXX feels great in the hand. When I first got it, I felt like it was a really premium feeling budget device. If I was gonna keep one of these three Anbernics, I'd go with the CubeXX. I'm only selling it because I have too many devices and it's redundant in my lineup. Some of the things that I really like about all three of these are the buttons and D-pad. They're not necessarily objectively better than more premium devices, but the buttons are quiet and soft, and the D-pads have a decent amount of give and aren't very clacky compared to my Odin Thor Portal. And I really appreciate that, both ergonomically and playing around other people or playing at night. And they also have a psychological advantage. With my AYN Portal or AYN Thor, I treat them like they're radioactive. I'm really careful, but with a $50 to $70 Anbernic, I'm not necessarily babying it. They feel like toys, and that's kind of a good thing. If it breaks, I'm happy to just replace it or move on, and that sort of freedom makes playing games on these fun. Now, in terms of setup, even though it's not super difficult, I think it is a barrier to entry for some people, especially newcomers. It takes some effort. So if I'm gifting these, I like to put a simple operating system like MinUI and load 10 to 25 games per system. And if you're starting off, I do recommend a similar type of setup just to make the barrier to entry smaller and increase the chance that you'll stick with the hobby and use the device long term. So at the end of 2025 and going into 2026, if you really just care about playing Game Boy through PS1, all of these devices can do that well. If you want a really good budget travel device, these are good recommendations. If you're new to emulation and want a budget entry point, these are still worth considering. These also make great gifts, and there are other budget options. I'll cover more of those soon. I'm gonna make a video on the TrimUI Brick shortly. There's also some really interesting devices around the $100 price point. But these Anbernics have a big advantage. They're known. There's a bunch of devices in the Anbernic line with these same chipsets, which you can watch countless videos on, and they all perform very similarly. They have a lot of firmware support and community support. A lot of people like them, and for good reason. In the end, I'm selling these because I mostly use my Portal and my Thor, which covers all of the emulation and gaming I really need. The Portal has that big, beautiful 7-inch OLED screen, great for higher-end emulation and game streaming. And the Thor is obviously great for multitasking as well as DS and 3DS. And the portability and clamshell nature make it really amazing for on-the-go gaming. I realize that I have a bit of a tendency to collect these devices, and a lot of these handhelds were sitting on my shelf unused. Having less options means that it's easier for me to just pick up and play one of my devices, knowing which systems and types of games I use my few devices for. Less time tinkering for me means more time playing games, and that's what I really like about the hobby. Not to say that collecting or tinkering isn't fun, because it is, but at the end of the day, I'm looking to downsize my collection to spend some more time playing games. But if you don't want to spend that much, or if you're looking for a great entry point into retro handhelds, these Anbernics at $45 or even $60 to $70 I think are still a great value. The Anbernics are one of the reasons why I fell in love with this hobby in the first place. And if you're just jumping in, I think these are a great place to start. So what do you think? Do you love Anbernics? Are you just getting into the hobby, or are you like me trying to downsize your collection? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for listening.